Gran Turismo 5 special report all the way from Gamescom in Germany and top sim cars. This show is sponsored by Sim Raceway. Welcome to Inside Sim Racing, episode 79, and this is our Gran Turismo 5 special report coming all the way from Gamescom in Germany.
Gotta love it. We've always had an international audience. Now we have international coverage.
From our international reporter, Andreas Nee, who I'd like to apologize for pronunciation.
Why are we always apologizing for pronouncing things wrong?
I can't even pronunciate mispronunciation of his name when we initially introduced him on our last episode, and he teamed up with some guys from GT Planet, Mark Fox?
Mark Fox.
Sorry. Mark Fox. Here we go again with the mispronunciation.
Names. And Andrew Evans. These guys, it's a collaboration. GT5 guys, they're great. And Andreas and us and wonderful stuff.
It's a wonderful thing. And they got to attend Gran Turismo 5's Breakout Session, which was hosted by Sony and Kazunori, and they actually said that it was a continuation from what they did over at E3.
Yeah, so you remember back to our E3 coverage, Darren went to the Breakout, no cameras, no recording devices, just a little question and answer.
This took place on August the 18th. Let's see what Andreas and the guys from GT Planet got for us.
Hello and welcome to this special report on Gran Turismo 5. My name is Andreas Nie and I'm reporting from Gamescom 2010 for Inside Sim Racing. As you can see, there's a lot of racing going on this booth. Sony has brought to the show the latest demo of their Gran Turismo 5 game. Now what is shown here in the demo on the floor is of course not the full content of this game. There's still tons left to be revealed, and some of it, part of it, has been revealed behind closed doors. Inside Sim Racing, as well as the colleagues from GT Planet, were kindly invited by Sony to join one of those sessions. And what we've learned there is part of the next segment. So we're here at a hotel and ready to discuss the presentation that we attended this morning. With me today are Famin and Venari from GT Planet, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Famin from GT Planet. I'm one of the moderating staff. I've been on the site for about 5-6 years now. Been sent to cover GT Academy before, the GT Academy final at Silverstone. It's my first foreign jaunt for GT Planet. Venari.
Hello, I'm Venari. I'm also from GT Planet. Been on the site for a number of years and was part of GT by the Numbers before then and various other GT sites.
All right. Yeah, it was quite an interesting presentation, I think. Quite exciting stuff that Kazunori unveiled there. First thing, new course, Monza. Looked nice.
It was very pretty indeed, yeah. It's a fast-flowing course. Kazunori was very enthusiastic about it.
Oh, liked it very much. Had a good race in the Fiat 500s there. Very tight battle, right to the last corner. Good stuff.
All right. Okay, then onto the cars. Lots of new cars. And I think you actually had some interest in that, right?
60s race cars. I mean, I own two 60s cars back home. I won't go into them now. GT5 is one of those simulators which doesn't just simulate what was, it also simulates what if. And he wanted to see a race between the Ferrari P4, the Ford Mark IV, and the 67 Jaguar XJ13, and you can just tell he's such a petrol head, and he's made it come true on GT5. It's fabulous.
Yeah, we actually got a chance to drive those cars, and it was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Being a Brit, obviously, I drove the Jaguar, so, had to hold the side up there. And it drives as you might expect. You come to Gran Turismo, you come to expect a level of realism in a certain way. Driving the RUF Porsches, they feel like fast, powerful, tail-heavy cars that you fling around the Nürburgring and they'll bite you. The XJ13, it was a race car, so it was precise to drive, but you could feel it was from a different era. Slides about a bit more, you have to place it carefully. You can, in the words of Sir Stirling Moss, you can throw it like a dart and it would just track through the corner. It was a lovely piece of kit to drive, it was good.
And then there was this Lamborghini Miura prototype, which of only 2 have been built. One was destroyed, and the other one, Polyphony Digital, actually got a chance to look at and remodel that in the game. So we actually get a chance to really race that car. That was really showing some enthusiasm for race cars in general and those cars in particular. And then there was something new that has not been revealed up to now. Well, not to its full extent. It's what Kazunori called the course maker.
Yeah, he was keen to point out that it was a creator rather than an editor. The point of the course editor is, with a very simple user interface, is to create a track. It wouldn't allow you to create a specific track. You couldn't say make Spa-Francorchamps from scratch. You're given a choice of 4 themes, which curiously includes the Belgian High Fens, where Spa-Francorchamps is located. You can divide your track up into sections. You could have a rally-style point-to-point or a circuit. You can assign corner frequency, corner severity, banking severity, and you could do this in all 4 sections. So you could have a section that is purely straight, as Kazunori did in fact have a section that was purely straight, or one that's full of tight turns. He said the maximum length was about 10 kilometers, and he did give a quick test drive example with using the Subaru Impreza sedan. It does look very exciting indeed. It might not have the customizability of the editor from something like Mod Nation Racers, which many of you might be familiar with, but to provide that sort of level with Gran Turismo 5's level of graphics, it would require a huge amount of input, a huge program, a CG interface just colossal. He did say that all the online tracks could be raced online. That improves the accessibility of it.
And that pretty much wrapped up the presentation itself. Unfortunately, we didn't have that much time for a questioning round, but still 3 questions were allowed, and we got to ask 2 of them. One of them I asked the infamous question whether or not standard cars will have cockpit. And he explained that there was some confusion going on after their announcements that have been happening before. And indeed, they were trying to reproduce something similar to what you see in the PSP version of Gran Turismo, basically having more like a black frame and basic wheel movement and stuff like that. But they weren't really happy with that, so they dropped that again. So it is confirmed now that sadly there will not be any cockpits in standard cars. So that's just going to be like following camera, bumper camera, whatever, hood camera possibly, but there's not going to be a behind the wheel view in standard cars. The second question was actually coming from your...
Yes, we were particularly curious on GT Planet about the confusion over locations and variations when the numbers of tracks were announced last year and then again reinforced at E3. There's a lot of confusion as to whether locations meant unique tracks and variations meant reverse and short versions of the track. Kazunori's answer was that if you counted the courses themselves, there were more than 70. So we can add variations on top of that, reverse tracks and short versions. So I think we're going to be happy with the numbers of unique circuits.
But more excitingly was actually the noon part of the day, where we got to talk to Kazunori himself. And that's going to be covered in another segment.
That was just a portion of what went on in the post-discussion of Gran Turismo 5 Breakout.
We had to cut it off somewhere. It would still be going. Our show would be 2 hours long. But for those of you, I mean, there's so much cool Gran Turismo stuff. If you want to see the full thing, we have a much longer version.
That's right. Head on over to youtube.com/SRT Media. Mm-hmm. There you will not find our show, but It is where we keep our etc. items. So
yeah, our blizzards, our shorts.
That's right. Or you can check it out at
Race. Your shorts there?
I got to keep them somewhere.
You can also check it out. We have it embedded over at racesimcentral.com.
That's right.
All right, that takes us on to top sim cars. And we've been having a little competition going on these days.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to work out this way, but the first week I was a little quicker. Second week, Darren was a little quicker. Tommy's trying to get in on it too. I'm sure
And for
you're
those
gonna
of you guys that don't know what's going on, our top sim car segment, the guys are posting their lap times, and we're just trying to see which car is who's faster and which car and which track and what's the best way to play.
Well, the best thing is we all keep getting beaten.
That's the fun part.
Yeah.
All right, so here you go. Top sim cars, sponsored by simraceway.com.
The home of online racing. We are here for Top Sim Cars Track Edition.
That's right.
And our third version. And just to catch you up very, very quickly, the first week I was a little bit quicker and then I got beaten immediately. The second week, Darren was quicker and he got beaten, not so immediately, but got beaten.
Pretty much immediately. Thanks for being so nice, but no, I got spanked immediately.
And speaking of, there is Darren Ganji.
Hey everybody, Game Pod in here.
And so this week we are determined to do better. So we still haven't even decided who's doing the hot lap, but Darren is still going. And we are at Laguna Seca 1.2 by Com 8, available at R Factor Central. And this
One-click installable.
one-click installable. And that's a very good point that I want to touch on, which is we're running R Factor, which is a game you can get for $19 nowadays. We are using R Factor Central to be able to one-click install any mod we want as much as we want, pretty much. And that just opens up R Factor to unbelievable amount of content, and that's how we're doing this. You know, 25 bucks a year, you get that one-click install unlimited.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap. For under 50 bucks, you get R Factor Central and the ability to one-click install everything. So
Yeah.
it makes it really plug and playable.
And for what we're doing here, which is all the time trying new cars and tracks, it makes life just easy. You don't have to be a computer genius. You don't have to know, put the files in the game data folder and all that. Anyway, back to Top Sim Cars Track Edition. We are at Laguna Seca 1.20 by Com 8. And for anybody who's a racing fan, Laguna Seca is one of the most known tracks in North America. Its history goes back to 1957. It was built the year after the Pebble Beach road races came to an end due to a crash. So this is them saying we have a great street course that's dangerous, but what we need is a permanent road course facility to be able to do the same thing. So the track was immediately built, and it's been there ever since, and is just loved by everybody.
And let's just say, this is a great version, you know? Comparing it to, everybody's going to compare it to iRacing because iRacing's got the laser scan version. And you know what? This is damn close. I've run a lot of laps at that version, and Com 8, man, did a great job on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And things like the corkscrew, where right here you've got massive elevation change from the top to the bottom. You enter it blind. It's absolutely one of the most famous corners, one of the most difficult corners in all of racing.
In all of racing, yeah, no doubt about it.
A couple other things. The track itself is 2.238 miles long, or 3.6 kilometers. 11 turns, like I mentioned, 300 feet of elevation change, lots of camber change, a lot of different types of corners. So this is one of those all-in-one tracks. You're not going to get bored with it. You're going to constantly be working on different parts of the track. The car, we are using the Toyota AE86, and both the car and track came as a suggestion to us this time.
Yep, Panther 7 is who recommended it, and AE86 is 20th on our top sim car list.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites on the list. I love driving this little four-banger. You had it fired up earlier, and I heard it revving like crazy, man. It's a lot of fun to drive, almost like a little drift car.
It is, and it's rear-wheel drive with a tiny car. Not a ton of horsepower, but enough to really make it fun. And it drives like a club-level car, so anybody who ever dreams of getting into real-life racing, this is the type of car you're going to run. Another thing, back to Laguna. I'm a huge racing fan. One thing that we've talked about this before, one of the most famous moments was when Zanardi passed Brian Herta on the inside.
You said Ryan.
I said Ryan?
Ryan.
Oh my God. When he passed Brian Herta.
Who I actually went to my high school.
Passed
Hart
him
High alumni.
on the last lap for the win. And that's like a no passing zone on this track. I mean, I don't know how many
Right
passes
here where I am,
Yeah.
going up into the aisle. I'll never forget that pass.
So it's got some great history.
Neither will Brian Herta.
And the official track record is actually with Helio Castroneves going back to a 2000 the Penske Honda Renard Kart Champ IndyCar, whatever you want to call it, from 2000. And that was with a 107.7, which is unbelievably fast.
Yeah, that's a lot faster than we're going in this little Toyota.
Yeah, we're running like, we're shooting for 37s maybe.
That's a 1 minute 37, by the way.
Anyway, that lap time has been beaten unofficially a couple of times, but that is the real one. So that's going to wrap it up. The track got 474 out of 500 votes at R Factor Central, so it's community loved as well.
And if you haven't voted on it, make sure you do.
Absolutely. And we're going to put, keep getting asked, we're going to put better settings for how to set up the real feel and the wheel and everything for this particular car and track. That'll be at our forum at Inside Sim Racing. And go there and post your lap times and take part in this. Great track, great car combo.
Yep, we'll see you guys there.
Continuing our GT5 special coverage from Gamescom, Andreas, Mark, and Andrew got to sit down with Kazunori and get a special exclusive interview.
Yeah, and you would think that meant a green microphone and a camera in his face, but that wasn't the case for this one.
Nope, no microphones or cameras allowed, but nonetheless, we still did get the interview, and instead of us here telling you about it, why don't we hand it off to the guys at Gamescom?
So, one of the most exciting things that happened during Gamescom was in fact the interview with Kazunori Yamauchi. Many thanks to our contact over at Sony, Alex Ammer. He was a great help in getting us hooked up with Kazunori and making this all happen. We've talked about the LAN modes, the local area network modes, because that is particularly close to your heart, I understand?
Yes, we've been running a local area network, Gran Turismo 3 and 4 parties for, well, getting on for 7 years now in the UK. We've had visitors from all over the world come to various cold and dank parts of England to come and play Gran Turismo with us in garages and warehouses. And also, LAN mode permits multiple monitor support. So if there was no LAN mode, you wouldn't be able to have a 3 monitor support. So we thought it was important to find that out. There were very many people concerned about multiple monitors.
And his answer to that was?
Probably.
Right. He didn't really go into detail into that. He didn't really want to disclose that.
From what I understand of the Japanese, he said it was probably erring on the side of likely that LAN mode would be included rather than maybe. So, probably.
Okay. Then next on was light and weather changes, if that's going to be included in all the tracks.
I mean, we haven't seen any evidence of weather at any of the demos we've played, but we have seen the lighting changes at the Rally Toscana. So it has been natural curiosity from everybody to wonder if there was variable daytime and weather on all tracks. Some people did bring up concerns that maybe it might snow at Daytona, which is physically impossible. But it was worth finding out whether it would happen at all tracks or not. And the answer was not all, but some.
Right. So again, a little bit vague. He didn't really want to disclose that information there. Then there was this question, since he wants to build the ultimate real driving simulator, how close he would feel he is with achieving this goal with GT5. So he mentioned he's roughly 85 to 90% happy with how GT5 turned out in terms of achieving the goal of ultimate drive simulator.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing it for 12, 13 years, and the progress is remarkable. I mean, anyone who's gone back and played Gran Turismo 1 or 2 recently, we were in awe of them when we were playing them originally, and they're still excellent games, but time has aged them slightly, and he could probably be working at this for another 25 years and not reach his goal. But he will do it. He will carry on working at it.
Absolutely. Then we had a very quick question and a quick answer. Livery editor, will it be included?
Will it be included? Probably not.
Right, probably not. That was a quick one. We asked him that earlier he said that weather and damage will only be included if it would make sense in a driving situation, if it would enhance the driving experience. Now they are included. So the question was it because he was thinking it really does improve the driving experience, or if it was more the pressure from outside and communities just like GT Planet that would look at early demos and would say, okay, this does not look as good as what we would expect?
Yeah, I mean, there was some initial backlash on GT Planet and many other Gran Turismo sites with regards to the very first damage build. I think Kazunori's answer was it's fair to say that it's pretty much a 50-50 balance as to whether something gets implemented because he thinks it will improve the game, as opposed to something gets implemented because the Gran Turismo community thinks that something will improve the game.
We don't know how great it's going to be until it arrives, because Kazunori's having ideas that are 2 levels above what I mean, we're great enthusiasts, but he thinks on a different plane in some circumstances. So you've got to think there's always going to be something special in the next Gran Turismo. We're not quite expecting, so.
Absolutely. So great things we can expect for GT6 and for GT5. We haven't really have that in our hands yet. So, and not all of it has been disclosed. So we still expect great stuff. For example, when he was talking about the new cars, especially the old ones, the classic ones, he was going into great detail about the history of the cars, and we asked them if that information will be included in the game as well.
Yeah, he said that very many of the Polyphony Digital team are working on very verbose textual descriptions of each of the cars. And this obviously would take quite a lot of time. It's a car enthusiast's delight. I mean, if you find a car in Gran Turismo that you've never heard of before, they will tell you all about it.
Right. Sean called it a gigantic car museum when they came back from E3, and I suppose he's right. I mean, there's lots of cars you've never heard of, or almost never heard of, and you get all the information, not only the car and driving it pretty much in real, and you mentioned it that you can have what-if races, so it's going to be fantastic for any car enthusiast. Now, Mark, while we were busy asking all those questions, and that was pretty much it. Because unfortunately, that one Sony representative had to cut us off because of the tight schedule of Kazunori. Said we only had 2 questions left, and I think we sneaked in 3, so we even overexpanded that. So we were really fortunate to get those questions and answers in. Unfortunately, we had to stop there, but you took a lot of pictures, right?
I took a few pictures, yeah, just to get a record of the scene. It was nice to just see you guys. We actually went outside here at the hotel, and we went out and sat on the wicker chairs there, and the interview was conducted in a really pleasant setting, and it's just nice to get a few shots of it for posterity. And it was also a chance just to observe how everyone was talking and how Kazunori was. I think he was obviously more relaxed in our interview than he was in the presentation. I mean, we certainly think it went well. He said what he needed to say, and everyone seemed happy, and so that went well. But yeah, it was good to see him, and of course his very valued companion, Translator-san.
Absolutely, yes. Kazunori doesn't go anywhere without his translator, and he was present there as well, translating. And of course, we were lucky enough to actually get to talk to him as well, and I tried to get his name. I said I have to get his name, and his answer was,
no you don't. Translator-san is just fine.
Absolutely, Translator-san wants to be known as Translator-san, and that's just gotta be it. But it was funny. I mean, he's a very nice guy. He's open, and he knows about his celebrity. I think he kind of enjoys it, and he likes to be this kind of mysterious guy in the background.
This enigmatic character. I think I'd be happy with leaving it as that. I don't want to know his name. I just want to know him as Translator-san. He's a great guy.
Absolutely. So we're just going to leave it at Translator-san. All right. And so that concludes our recap of this interview. Again, we're very thankful to Sony for giving us the opportunity, and we all hope that Kazunori Yamauchi enjoyed it as much as we did.
GamePod, the ultimate race rig for those serious about sim racing. Puts you in the driver's seat with all the controls at your fingertips. Be number one on the road, in the race, in the game. GamePod, the choice of champions.
For our top story, which is sponsored by RaceSimCentral.com, the home of sim racing news and forums since the year 2000. And our top story is actually the impressions of the guys over at Gamescom of the GT5 demo.
The full demo. And you know, one thing, you wonder what took us so long to get this on the air, and that would be the monster amount of gigabytes of video that Andreas got us. We are still downloading stuff. I don't even know how much more we have to go.
Yeah, they sure did get a ton of footage, and a lot of it got captured, and we'll be playing over their impression and over their thoughts.
Yeah, until September.
Until September. So here you go, Andreas, with GT5 demo impressions.
So obviously we got to try out the demo that was on display at the show floor. There were some good parts and there were some bad parts. Of course, it was not the final code. In fact, it was said that it was a brand new code that was just delivered for the show. Different code from what we saw at the E3. And yeah, one of the aspects that was supposed to be improved in GT5 compared to the other ones is the physics. Now, what was your impression of the physics?
Driving the new cars and having driven the beta as well, I agree that certainly over GT4 and over GT5 Prologue, the physics is much improved. Cars feel a bit more neutral to drive. They feel much more in terms of understeer and oversteer dynamics, that they feel more like real cars. I mean, that's ultimately the point of the simulator, and if they're getting towards that goal, then that's good. The older cars on the taller tyres felt nice and progressive. The newer cars felt like modern cars can feel to drive. You get this understeer and then a snap because of the modern rubber. That was, you know, it's modelled more accurately, I think, than previous games. Andrew, what do you think?
Okay, yeah, what do you think?
Mark is the expert on driving performance cars in the real world, but I agree. GT4 was often derided for excessive understeer. There is still understeer present, but it's understeer you would expect. If you hike up the driving aids, you get more understeer. The cars do seem more intuitively like driving real cars. It's only a good thing. I mean, Kazunori did say that the tyres and the suspension particularly were improved well above Prologue, well above the beta, well above the time trial demo, and I'd have to agree, it's much more like driving real cars, as far as you can get without that sense of inertia.
Right, absolutely. Moving on maybe to the graphics, because I noticed that during racing, the shadows while in cockpit view, and even we noticed that when we had this hood view, and the shadow, no, not the reflections on that were very pixelated, didn't look good. Actually, they looked like something you would see in an old Atari or C64 Commodore game. So, and for example, in the Zonda, there was no back view. With some of the cars, if you're in the cockpit and you look back, you saw the back of the car. In the Zonda, there was none. So I guess it wasn't finished yet, or it wasn't complete yet. Graphically speaking.
I think the Zonda is quite easy to explain. There is no rear window, so you can't see out of the back of a Zonda.
Okay, but I think I tried it out in another car, and you could barely see anything. So it was just a lot of just very small slits, and I think it was in the Lamborghini.
Yeah, that was the Miura, which has louvered rear window. So.
Right. So okay. I haven't driven a Zonda in real life, so I can't. I have to trust your expertise there. But coming back to the shadows, I mean, there are shadows in real life, and I've seen those, and they don't look as, you know, like.
Yeah. I mean, part of my job is software engineering, software development. What I think we're witnessing here is a demo build. Yes, the shadows were very jagged, and reflections in the door mirrors They were there, but they weren't animated. They had no shadows. And the reflections in the body panels you could see on the bonnet of that SLS that was being driven, they were very pixelated. Sometimes when code is not quite yet optimized and you want to still show feature, you have to put it in at a sub-optimized level. I think what we're seeing there is a build with some of the additional parts not quite up to scratch. I don't think Polyphony would sign off, their quality department would sign off on that for the real game. What we will see for the real thing at launch date on the 1st or the 3rd of November, whenever the launch dates are for your regions, will be a better game. It will be smooth, it will be fast, it will be excellent.
Absolutely. Another thing that you checked out were the skid marks, right?
Yeah, we were very surprised to see the skid marks at all. I noticed it from a video of Andreas doing the karting the previous day. We decided to investigate it when we were playing the demo, and we got some nice skid marks. We went around to look at them and they weren't there, and then they popped up. Again, as Venari says, it's probably just a case of this is the smallest amount of code that they can show the current features at the present time, and it probably won't represent the final product. The skid marks are there, which people on GT Planet have been calling for some years.
Right, absolutely. I noticed that you did some more testing. You took out one of the NASCAR cars on an Indy course and did some reverse driving, trying to crash into the other cars. Did a lot of spins and wheelies and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were trying to test low-speed physics, high-speed damage. GT4 had issues of GT3 too with inability to perform donuts in high-powered rear-wheel drive cars, which are relatively simple in the real world. We found that the NASCAR would quite easily do donuts. We also noticed that the damage was more than superficial and visual. After one particularly heavy head-on collision, I lost the ability to even get into third gear. The car was aero restricted to about 140 miles an hour. So we quite enjoyed the damage.
All right, cool. Yeah, what else did we like or dislike about the game?
New smoke effects.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They are excellent. The smoke is fantastic. There's a little question mark over how they interact with trackside furniture, but you have to be very picky to notice that at all. But the smoke genuinely does look excellent, along with the tyre marks and the final ability to do donuts. It should keep the Hoons happy to their heart's content.
All right, absolutely.
Small things please small minds, and there are two things I loved. Reverse lights. Just was begging for them for ages. When you press the reverse button, you expect them to light up. Well, now they do. And the other thing was the driving rigs were equipped with, which wheel is it? The Logitech GT Pro?
Yeah, the Driving Force.
Driving Force GT.
The Driving Force GT, right? Yeah.
The DFGT has a horn button, and when you push it, the horn works. How great is that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, right. You actually found, no, who did you find it out? You found out by incident, coincidence, right?
I was being an Italian driver driving the Fiat 500 on Monza and getting very angry at the car that had just rammed me off Parabolica, and giving it a good honk, and the horn works.
It was brilliant.
We were giggling like school children. Even though the horn is a bit weedy on the Fiat 500, we were giggling like kids.
Yeah, anything else to add from the experts? I'm really glad that you're joined because, as I mentioned, I know some of GT, but you're the experts, really.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, but we did see implementation of the flag system. The blue flag was waved, particularly when I was going the wrong way in the NASCAR. Blue flag, obviously, for those of you who don't know, means that there are faster cars trying to overtake you. Bit surprised that got waved at me when I was driving the wrong way around a circuit, but rather than a black flag. We haven't seen any yellow, green, black, white, or loose surface flags yet. But
I noticed that it was inside the kart part as well. When I was karting, I received the blue flag as well.
Yeah. drive quicker.
Well, thank you. All right. So I guess with this piece of advice, this rounds up our little take of the good and bad of GT5. Oh, jeez. Hey. The good and bad of GT5. And I think we all agree that this is a really great game that everybody can look forward to. Kazunori said that they want to make sure that it is accessible to not only the experts, but also to beginners, and especially the kart racing part will make it much more accessible to beginners and people that want to get interested and started in racing. And the B-Spec mode obviously will put a new twist to the whole racing thing that has not been seen in other racing games that much or at all. So yeah, that concludes our little roundup of what we've seen and enjoyed here at Gamescom 2010 in Cologne.
That's going to wrap up our GT5 special report coming all the way from Germany at Gamescom. And we truly are blessed to have a reporter all the way over in Germany who, in fact, was the only person who applied for the position of being our international reporter. So,
and he was pretty darn good.
Yeah, thank you, Andreas. You did an exceptional job.
I also want to thank Andrew and Mark from GT Planet, who also did a great job, and Jordan behind the scenes, who also helped out on this. So, great source of information, GT Planet.
Yep, gtplanet.net for all you Gran Turismo 5 fans. And also like to take a moment to thank Alex over at Sony, who granted us access to all these special events at Gamescom.
Absolutely. And we're hoping he's getting us access so that we can actually get our hands on it pre-launch as well.
So we may have some more GT5 stuff coming for you guys shortly. On our next episode, we have some more footage from Gamescom covering F1 2010.
Which will sort of like this, be the next step along. We saw it at E3, now we're going to see a little
Taking
evolution.
you a little bit more in depth.
Make
sure you stay tuned, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not yet, and visit our SRT Media channel. That's YouTube/SRT Media. Take a look at our website, InsideSimRacing.tv, and check us out on our forums. That's going to wrap it up. Checker flag is out, and so are we.
Racing rigs provided by GamePod, the choice of champions. Go to gamepod.co.uk. Get your background images at wall-graphics.com.
Yet to be released. No, what? 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 What's he talking about? That we had the honor of, wow, what? With Yamauchi Kamazu. Wow, why do I mess up his name all of a sudden? Who let the dogs out? The guys from GT Planet make faces at me. Oh. How am I supposed to work like that? I don't know. Distractions. Okay, now, good thing.